Well, I'll tell you what. I've dated a black boy before. And when we first met, it was kind of a little odd for me. I mean, he grew up in Cleveland, in a weird part of Cleveland, like maybe not the most, I don't know, just the bad part, I guess, is what you would call it. And I got to know him more, and he wasn't anything that I expected him to be. But that wasn't even just because of the color of his skin. It was more from where he grew up and his past life. He just had such a hard life, and he's such a nice guy. He's one of the nicest guys I've ever met and one of the smartest. And I mean, I don't know. I always grew up with tolerance in my house, and I've always had friends of every kind of race and religion and culture. So I guess I never really have any preconceived notions of a person until I get to know them.
Before I go on to David, let me ask you a couple questions. Are you still dating with him, Emily?
No, I'm not, but we're still friends.
Okay. Based on one of the things that you said, would you say that we believe people to have a certain level of intelligence and to behave a certain way, not necessarily by their outside appearance, but because of where they come from?
I think a lot of people do. I mean, he told me that he thought I was a spoiled little white girl when he first met me. I mean, I grew up in the country.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, thanks.
I love you.
I love you. But I grew up in the country, so he was from the city, and we were very different in that respect. So he thought I was just going to be this little hick. And, I mean, he got to know me, and anybody who knows me can tell you that I'm not a hick. I mean,
You're not?
I might go into a drawl every now and then because some of the kids I went to high school with had one, and I pick it up. But I don't know. It's just how you were raised, I think it is. I mean, you pick up from your parents a lot of your beliefs. And if you have parents who kind of like look at other races or religions and have their own ideas of what those people should be or are, then you're going to pick up on that a little bit, I'm sure.
I agree with that. See, from my perspective, culture and how we act, these are catch-all terms for a reaction, if you will. For example, if you go to a high school, If you go to a high school full of African Americans who speak in Ebonics, then you too will catch up on the. You too will speak in Ebonics, or you will find it in bad taste and not do it. It's really yourself, the person, who denotes your behavior. Again, it's more so a reaction. For example, I myself am an African American. I went to an all-white high school full of Italians, and I can tell you that when I first came to the Italian neighborhood, I thought there would be pizza and spaghetti everywhere, for lack of better words. But I found they were just, I'm going to sound like a terrible person, but they were just regular white people, just like all the others I'd been around.
What's a regular white person?
Huh?
What's a regular white person?
A white person that's regular.
So does he or does he not like NASCAR?
Am I not regular because I don't like NASCAR?
That is a very good question.
Draws, does that make me regular? I mean,
That's
again, the term regular, or trying to define somebody as regular, like, or anybody as regular, is, again, that's a very open-ended term. So,
and that's another good point. Something that I've been trying to debate with for a while. What does that mean to be
normal?
Regular or normal?
Glad you asked that. Now that I do know. A friend of mine told me this. It's a catch-all term for generally accepted behavior within a society. This is all subjective because society changes.
So basically, going back to one of the points that was made earlier, one reason why a certain group of people don't fit based on their color, gender, religion, where they come from, the size of that person, their sexual preferences, how crazy or psychological fit they are, I guess is a good way to say it, is because based on society, they don't fit. aka they're not normal. That is an interesting point. I would love to continue on with this, but we've got to take a commercial break so that we can come back and talk about the rest of the topics that we have in store. So you all tune in, and we will be right back right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for tuning in again. We're still having our discussion for Dr. Martin Luther King Day. Here's something that I want to bring up, focusing on the holiday. You know, Dr. King did a whole lot of things to help shape this country into what it is today. One of the most significant things that he did, and depending on who you talk to, one of the only things that he did was deliver his I Have a Dream speech. And again, you heard me read an excerpt from that earlier. When I was thinking about this speech, though, and everything that Dr. King did, it's hard for me to believe that he only helped Black people. I remember one Martin Luther King Day, I received a text from a friend. I don't remember everything that it said, but basically it said Martin Luther King helped pave the way for Barack Obama, and he did so many things. If you're happy about this, forward this to all of your Black friends. And I replied back to my friend who sent me this, and I said, well, why can't I forward this to all of my white friends too? And his response was, because Dr. King helped Black people. My argument for that was he helped everyone. It wasn't just a Black-white thing. You know, if you go back and listen to his speech, he said Black men, white men, Jews, Gentiles, Christians, Protestants. Did I pronounce that right? Protestant. Thank you. Always get that mixed up. Anywho, but that's what he did. You know, he wasn't here just to help us as Black people, but to change the world and give everyone peace and justice and love and harmony between all of us. Am I alone? Am I the only one who feels that way? What does the dream mean to you guys?
I agree with you. I think, I don't know, that speech is one of my favorite speeches in history of all time. Just, it's so well written and just so heartfelt and honest. I mean, just the fact that there are some people who would want little kids to not play with other little kids just because of the color of their skin, that's sad. I mean, kids are like the most honest people because they're looking at the world for the first time and making their own decisions. But when people make decisions for them and segregate them, that just breeds more hatred and more confusion and more non-understanding of other cultures.
I remember I was about 5 or 6 years old, and me and my older brother, it was summer, and what we used to do every summer was go and spend a week in Mansfield, Ohio, with our uncle, aunt, and our cousins. And I remember one day our aunt took us to the mall, and she was doing something, but me and my brother were playing on the PlayStation, you know, the play place. And we met this young white girl. She was about my age, and her younger brother. We started playing. We got to playing and enjoying each other's company. And after a while, I suggested that we do something. I don't remember what it was, but I suggested that we do something. And the girl's brother said, "No, you're Black." And he walked away. Now, I'm 6 years old, and the girl is around my age, and her brother is younger than her. So obviously he didn't just think of that, you know, himself. He had to have gotten that somewhere. So I agree with you, Emily. The fact that we teach our kids, you know, segregation now and make those decisions for them as to who they can and who they can't hang out with is, I mean, obviously we want to protect our kids from all of the negativity and everything like that, but to endorse segregation and teach them that a person is bad just because of the color of their skin or anything else, you know, it's sad.
I mean, yeah, it really is just sad because that just shows how ignorant people are. I mean, again, as the old saying goes, don't judge a book by its cover. And so if you only go judging people by, what's on the outside, then you're not really going to get to see what's truly within them. Again, like Dr. King said, it's judging them not by the color of their skin, but by their character. So again, it just shows the person's ignorance or just lack of respect for other people, or even just lack of caring.
That's a good point, too. Usually on one of my walks, I see a man who others will consider different and ostracize him. It's heartbreaking knowing that no one will go over and comfort that man in his time of need. I say time of need because when I saw this man, he was a very different fellow. His hair was multicolored. Another of my quote-unquote peers saw he had fallen and hurt himself, but they would not go over and help him up. It was depressing to see that no one would go over and help their fellow man just because he is different. And this was a Caucasian man. He wasn't black, he wasn't gay, he was straight, but his hair was so different and flamboyant that others alienated him all the same. It comes back to ignorance and judging a book by its cover. It's like they say, let he who's without sin cast the first stone, and none of these men were without sin, and they were throwing boulders at this man.
That goes back to another point. If you all remember last semester when we released our episode, The Love Thing, and one of the segments in that was of the Good Samaritan, and how everyone passed by him, even those who you would expect to help him out. They would walk around, they would pass by him, go to the other side, run away. So I guess my question is, are we looking away from these people because we don't love them? Because we have hate for them?
I think it's just we don't understand them. They're not like us, so we not necessarily fear them, but I don't know. I don't understand people sometimes because they can talk.
People anytime.
Yeah, I don't either. They can talk all this love towards other people, but then when they're truly tested to show their compassion, it's gone. They just walk on by, turn their head. It's like they don't want to admit something's going wrong by helping the person who needs it.
So this sort of ties in with the last thing I want to discuss. Obviously, we've come a long way than when this country was first discovered, when it first became independent. Speaking along the lines of Black history, Africans were taken from their homes. They were first brought over here as indentured servants. Then we became slaves. Then we were free, yet we were still enslaved by laws and by the superior of white males, white people. Then we got the civil rights movement. Then we were less treated as inferiors, but still to a certain degree. We started proving to the world what we could do. Then 2008, we get a black president, Barack Obama. That's just one of the ways that we've progressed throughout the years. And again, that's only through one aspect of it, Black history. We've progressed more in women's history and other aspects. But my question to you guys is, what do you expect there to be more of? What will we have to look forward to continue to progress?